Hi, this is Savara from Scrappy Mania, and today I want to show you a technique using just regular paper clay that I have. I have some Martha Stewart clay, and also I have some kids clay, some Crayola. And I like to keep, when I open the clay, I like to keep it in a tub, in a plastic tub, and I also put some towels and things like that I wet and keep it moist so that way it won't dry out. So you're going to need some clay. You can also use it with regular baked clay pieces, but as you see here, the baked clay doesn't come out as great as I would like it, and this one burnt a little. I'll still use it, but the baked clay, I don't like it as much as with the regular air dried clay. And this is with the Martha Stewart clay, and actually this is with the Crayola children clay. And you can use any stamp. So the idea for this this project came about of all those nice cameos that you find in the stores from Webster Pages, and I wanted to see if I can do the same thing using my stamp. I went to my local scrapbooking store. It's one of those locally owned, and I found these stamps, and they were only $5.99. So I found these stamps, and I saw this one, and this one was the one that inspired me to try to create my own cameo with paper clay. And I also used this one. So let me show you how I did it. This is one. So I want to show you, before I show you how to do it, I want to show you the different pieces that I have. And then you get that sparkle with some, I put some glass finish just to give it a little bit of that shine. This one looks like a cameo, really does. And with this one, after it dried, I left it dry for 24 hours. I went ahead and went back with a stamp. So I have a small little stamp. So I went back with this stamp, and that's what I use for the cameo. But you can use, like, I have other stamps in here. This one will look very nice inside, and this one says spicy. So imagine this one with some white ink and just stamp in the middle. That will look very nice. Also, you can use these. These are Martha Stewart stamps with a little butterfly. So I'm thinking I'm going to create one with a little butterfly. So I'm first going to stamp it with the white little flower. And then after I put the flower, I'm going to go ahead and stamp this on top of it with another different color. I don't know if it's blue. I'm not sure what color I will use, but I'll go ahead and stamp it with another color. Then after I let it dry for 24 hours, I'm going to go ahead and put the glass finish and see how that comes out. So that's one of my ideas. And then these are some Amy Tangerine. Look how pretty that will look in there. You just put it in the center. This little heart that says you rock. Imagine putting the flower and then putting a little heart and another color that says you rock. So the possibilities are endless with this technique. So let me show you how to do it. Okay? So let me put that aside. You're going to need a roller. So you need to roll it out. Now, if you roll it too thin, like this one is a little too thin, look how it curls up. However, this one, I rolled it, and it's not as thin. It's like 1/8 of an inch, and look how nice it keeps it shaved. So you don't want to roll it out too thin. It'll still work, but it'll be more, it'll have a little bit of dimension. It'll curve up. Another thing that I've learned is this is with neon color, and then this is with black. The black just makes it pop. I think staying with the black and brown, dark brown, will make it look better. This one is okay, but I don't like it. This one, I don't like it as much as I like that one. And then, let's see, another one. Here's another one. After I stamped it, so I stamped it with some light brown, and I put some mica powders in it too. Rubbed some mica powder, and then I rubbed a black stain on top. It's okay. I don't really like that technique that much, so this one I'm going to hide it with flowers and stuff, so it'll just peek a little bit. But I don't really like how that came out, but if you like it, that's another technique you can do. You can just rub on top with some kind of stain and take off the excess. And let's see, any other lessons learned that I've kind of figured out. Of course, don't like it too much with the clay. It kind of, with the baked clay, when you do the baked clay, the pieces kind of bubbles, like you can see there. It loses some of the detail. It's still a nice frame. You can still use it, but it loses some of the detail. So really, this one compared to this one, look at the difference. Look at the detail in here. So stick with the air dry clay. I think it'll work a lot better. And just in case, this was with an air dry clay, and what I did is I used a marker to paint the mouth and the eyes, and I think it came out pretty cute. And then I put some glass finish on top and let it dry. So this is another idea. I'm not going to show you how to create this, but look at the possibility with just a little bit of your marker, some glass medium, and actually these cheeks were created with blush. So actually real makeup blush. I used some of that and I put it on the cheeks, but you can also use chalk to do the same thing. And then you'll put the lacquer on top, or the glass finish on top, and it'll make it shiny like that. So let's go ahead and start this. So before I get my clay out, I want to make sure I got all my pieces out. I'm going to do this frame. This is one of them. And I haven't done this one yet, so I'm going to go ahead and use this one. Now, notice here it has some excess, so you want to cut that excess off, because when you do the impression on your clay, you want to make sure that this doesn't show up, because like here, let me show you one. See how it got some of the impression because I didn't clean it up, and then you can see it there. But if you take your time ahead of time before you use it and you cut out the excess and cut as close as you can to your stamp, it's gonna prevent that from happening. And these are very easy to cut, and you're not going to damage the stamp at all. Actually, it's going to actually help you get a better impression, and it's going to prevent you from getting that extra. Sometimes you get that extra mark of ink from the excess acrylic gel or acrylic material from the stamp. So now that's nice and clean. So let's go ahead and start. Put this aside. You're also going to need some type of knife to cut it off, and you're going to need a spatula. So I'm going to have this too. So let's go ahead and get a little bit of this clay. And just, after you get a piece, just make sure you cover the rest so it won't dry. And this clay is very forgiving. I really like this clay because it's easy malleable. If you want to put color on here before we stamp, you can go ahead and put a little bit of your ink. Your stamping ink will also work very well. I saw a tutorial on Stampin' Up channel, YouTube channel, and they have clay as well as Martha Stewart, and they were showing you how you can mix your stamping inks in the clay to change the color. And I thought that was pretty genius. Okay, so I'm going to make sure it's large enough for my stamp. I'm going to take some Memento ink. Okay. And I'm going to ink my stamp. Very good. And then you need to stand up for this technique. Make sure you stand up. And then you're going to just press down. And then after you're done, there you have it. Okay. Now before I put it aside to dry, I'm going to just cut away the excess. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put this aside to dry in a nice flat surface. You want to put it on a as flat surface as you can, and actually I'm going to probably put it on here. You want to make sure that it doesn't lift up or warp or anything like that. So I'm going to put it there. Now I'm going to take the remainder of my clay. I'm actually going to get a little more. And I am going to use my frame here. I'm going to clean up my block, make sure. And then sometimes you have to clean your hand because I'm using white clay, so you make sure you don't transfer any of that extra ink anywhere on your clay. Make sure I clean my hands. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and roll it out. And you don't want to make it too thin. So now you're going to take your piece here. And you're going to go ahead and press it down. Lift up. Okay, so there you have that. I'm going to cut the excess out, and then I'm going to go ahead and allow it to dry. And we'll be back to kind of put the centers for these. So before it's completely dry, what I want to do is I want to cut out, and that's why I like the air dry clay, because you really could cut this pieces out just with regular scissors. Okay, so that's, now I'm going to leave it to dry a little more, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out. So that one is nicely trimmed. And then I'm going to leave this one like it is. I don't think I need to trim that one. And what I did is I just took another stamp and stamped that. So we'll let it dry, and then we'll be back, and I am going to stamp something in the middle here once it's dry, and something here. And then we're going to put some glass finish, and it will look very nice. And then let it dry for 24 hours. After we do all that, in between each step, we let it dry thoroughly, and then we'll come back. And by the way, I want to show you what I did. This is also with air dry clay. So I used one of my molds. So this is the mold that I used. Actually, it was this one. So I took some yellow clay. I filled it up with yellow clay, and then I pulled it out. And then I used my marker, my big markers, to color the body, the face, and all that. Then I took one of these big pins. I found this pin at Joann's. It's a corsage pin. And I just stuck it through the clay when it was dry. And it just sticks very nice. I mean, it's with hardly any effort. You can put a pin through it. Same thing there. So there I got one of those nice little pins. And then I'll put another bee at the end. And we can use this for a project. So stay tuned for a project and where I'm going to use these two. So I'll be back once this is completely dry, and we'll finish it up. So the audio for this piece, my microphone was turned off, so I didn't put the audio. I could have recorded. But what we're going to use is the Amy Tangerine. I decided to use the camera from that stamp, and that's going to go on my oval. And then I'm going to put a flower stamp. This is the Martatua flower on the square frame that you see there. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp. Now for this, you don't need to put a lot of pressure because remember the clay is completely dry. We don't want to smear the ink or anything. So you're just going to tap it, put some light pressure, and there you have it. So I try not to kind of really put a lot of pressure down. So just a little, just like if you were stamping on paper, you don't want to smear it or anything. And just stamp. And there you have it. So the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to give it some color. We can leave it like that and use it as is, but I decided to kind of go and get my big markers. Now remember, this is clay, and it's paper clay or air dry clay, so it really works very nicely with your Bics. I try to stay away, and Bics of course are alcohol inks, so it dries pretty fast. And I try to stay away from using my watercolors. Anything that's wet, because you may re-wet the clay and it might distort the image. So that's why I wanted to use markers. I haven't tried it with colored pencils, but I don't know if the colored pencils are creamy enough to give it color. Maybe if you find a creamy consistency might work. The gelatos might also work, but remember we don't want to put water, or if you do put water, just a little bit of water. So maybe gelatos might also work, but I have not tried that. And I'll try those techniques with gelato and see if it works or not. So here I'm just using some blue, some dark blue, and just making kind of not very fancy painting, just coloring in just the spaces. And it's working very good. Now, also you just need to use light pressure. I noticed as I was coloring my piece in, is that the clay is absorbing the marker, so it will spread. So if you leave your marker hold on the clay for a long period of time, it will just web out. And that's what I was noticing as I was painting. But if you do real quickly, just put some ink and just quickly kind of do the stroke lines, it works pretty good, pretty well. And yeah, I used a blue I didn't want to make it black. I didn't want to pull, I do have gray, but I did, at the time when I was doing this video, I couldn't find my gray marker. Sometimes my kids use my markers, so I couldn't find it. So I decided to use these colors, the blue and the yellow. And the heart definitely has to be red, because who doesn't not have a heart other than red? That's usually the colors that you tend to use most. Now, I didn't try to use my blending pen, and that was another thing that I was planning to try out, and I might try out later on in other future cameos, in other projects. But for this one, I didn't use my blending solution to kind of give it the highlights. For the rose, I tried to do it like I would color on paper. So I start with the light color, which was a pink, a hot pink. And then I'm going to go on the edges with the red marker. And then after I do that, I'm going to go over it with the light color again. And that worked pretty well. And see here, as I was using the yellow marker, I was bleeding in some of the color from the pink from the petals, and that looked pretty good too. So that's another thing. It does pick up color from your markers, and it does bring it in, throughout the piece. So you have to kind of be careful. If you want to keep the color separated and don't want to blend it, then you have to be a little more cautious as you paint. So here I'm using the red on the outside and on the lines, but as you can see, now it's gonna blend in once I go over it again with the pink. And it looks pretty good. I like the vibrant color. It looks very nice. Now I may later on try, because for these pieces I really didn't put glossy accent on the whole piece, only on the flower and then on the frames. So I was thinking about using some glimmer misting, lightly glimmer mist the cameo, and give it a little bit of color where the white is, and just give it like a cream color or a yellow color, just to match my pages. So when I do I'm planning to do a layout with these pieces. So once I do the layout with these pieces, I'm going to try that. I'm going to use some of my glimmer mist and color the white, and make it a different color, and we'll see how that turns out. I have a feeling, because I'm going to use glossy accent, that it's going to be fine. The only color that the cameo is going to pick up is where the white is, that I have not sealed it with the glossy accent. And I think it's going to look very, very nice. So I'm almost done just putting some of this glossy accent or glass finish or whatever. I mean, a lot of companies make this product. And you know, there's also a glaze medium that's high gloss glaze medium. I have not tried that, so that might be another thing that you can try. Just brush a light coat of that glossy gel medium after the piece have dry and see how that shows up. I think that will work also very nicely on the finished product. Will be very, very cute. So I'm almost done with this. And I had a lot of fun creating all these cameos or pieces. And it really, look, that one, see how it shines? I really like how that one turned out. And that's another one that I'm showing there. I'm showing how it really makes the black kind of stand out and be very vibrant. So here are all my pieces. So I hope I have inspired you to break out your clay, use your stamp, your ink, and create these lovely cameos for your project. Thank you for watching.